You ever notice how motivation feels like a guest who shows up unannounced, stays just long enough to rearrange your furniture, and then leaves without saying goodbye? One morning you wake up and everything feels possible. You write the plan, you start the run, you clean the whole apartment. You think, finally I'm the person I've been waiting to become. And then 3 days later, maybe 5, maybe 2, you're back on the couch. Same couch, same ceiling, and the only thing that's changed is now you also feel guilty about it. So you wait. You wait for that feeling to come back. You think something is wrong with you because it left. You think maybe if you watch the right video or read the right book or hear the right sentence, it'll return, and this time it'll stay. But it never stays. And that's not because you're broken. It's because motivation was never built to stay. That's not what it's for. Let me explain. There's a concept in Buddhist teaching called Vedana. It just means feeling tone. Every experience you have gets tagged by your mind as pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Before you even think about it, before you form a single opinion, your mind has already labeled the moment: pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. It happens that fast. Motivation is a pleasant feeling tone. That's all. It's your mind tagging a certain future as exciting, as desirable, as bright. And because it feels good, you move toward it. You take action. You feel alive. But here's the thing about feeling tones. They change. They always change. That's not a flaw. That's their entire nature. Asking motivation to stay forever is like asking the wind to blow in one direction for the rest of your life. It won't. It can't. It was never designed to. So the question isn't, why does motivation disappear? The real question is, what's supposed to be there when it's gone? Think about wind for a second. Wind is powerful. Wind has pushed ships across oceans, carried seeds to new continents, shaped entire coastlines over centuries. But no sailor in history has ever built a ship that only works when the wind is blowing. They build sails, yes, sails that catch whatever wind comes. But they also build hulls. They build rudders. They build oars for the days the air is perfectly still and the ocean looks like glass, and nothing is moving them forward except the decision to keep rowing. Motivation is the wind. It's real. It's useful. When it shows up, you open the sails and you let it carry you. But the ship, the thing that actually gets you across the water, that's something else entirely. The ship is discipline, or maybe a softer word is better. The ship is practice, the quiet, unspectacular act of doing the thing even when you don't feel like doing the thing, especially when you don't feel like doing it. There's a line from the Bhagavad Gita, an old Hindu text, where Krishna tells Arjuna something that sounds almost cold at first. He says, "You have the right to your labor, but not to the fruits of your labor," which basically means, do the work because the work is yours to do, not because it feels good, not because the result is guaranteed, not because something in your chest is burning with excitement, just because it's yours. That's a hard teaching, right? We don't like that. We want to feel inspired. We want every morning to feel like a movie montage. We want the music swelling, the sun rising, the version of us that never hits snooze. But real life isn't a montage. Real life is Tuesday. Real life is the alarm going off and your bed being warm and your mind saying, "Not today," and you getting up anyway. Not with fire, not with passion, just with something quieter, something closer to a promise you made to yourself so many times that breaking it would feel like lying. And that's where most people get stuck, right at that border, the border between the day the feeling is there and the day it isn't. Because on the day the feeling is there, everyone can do hard things. That's easy. That doesn't count. The day that counts is the gray day, the flat day, the nothing day, the day where you do it anyway and it feels like nothing and no one claps and you go to bed thinking that didn't matter. It mattered. Those are the days that build the ship. There's a reason for this, by the way. It's not just philosophical. Your brain is doing something very specific when motivation fades, and understanding it takes some of the sting out. When you first get excited about a goal, your brain floods with dopamine, not because you've achieved something, but because you've anticipated something. Dopamine is not a reward chemical the way most people think. It's a prediction chemical. It lights up when your brain believes something good is coming. That's the feeling of motivation. It's your brain saying, "I predict this will be worth it," and drenching you in enough energy to start moving. But here's the problem. Your brain adjusts. Quickly. The prediction becomes familiar. The future you were so excited about becomes just another Tuesday plan. And dopamine, which was never meant to be a steady fuel, drops back to normal. Not because you failed. Not because the goal stopped being worthwhile. Just because your brain got used to the idea. That's it. That's the whole mechanism. So when motivation disappears, it's not a signal that you chose the wrong thing. It's not a sign that you should quit and find something that excites you more. It's just your brain doing exactly what brains do, normalizing, adjusting, moving on to the next novel thing. And if you follow that cycle, if you only do things when they feel exciting and stop when they feel flat, you know what you end up with? A graveyard of half-built ships, a harbor full of hulls that never reach the water, journals with 10 pages filled, running shoes worn twice, languages studied for a week, guitars with dust on the neck, not because you're lazy, because you are waiting for wind on the calm sea. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who wrote private notes to himself that were never meant to be published, had this line. He wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work as a human being." In plain words, you don't get up because you feel like it. You get up because this is what you are, a person who does things, not when inspired, not when motivated, when it's time. He wrote that almost 2,000 years ago, which tells you something. People have been struggling with this for as long as people have existed. You are not uniquely broken. You are not behind. You are just human, standing in the same wind that every human before you has stood in, wondering why it stopped blowing. So what do you actually do? How do you build the ship? You make the action smaller than the motivation requires. See, most people set up their goals so that you need motivation to even begin. The plan is too big. The first step is too high. And on the days when the wind is gone, the gap between where you're standing and where the plan starts is just too wide to cross on willpower alone. So you shrink the step. You don't say, I'll write for an hour. You say, I'll open the document. You don't say, I'll meditate for 30 minutes. You say, I'll sit down and close my eyes. You don't say, I'll work out for an hour. You say, I'll put the shoes on. That's it, just the shoes. Because here's what's quietly brilliant about this. The hardest part of any action is the first 15 seconds. Not the first 15 minutes, the first 15 seconds. The transition from not doing to doing, from still to moving. Once you've crossed that line, even by an inch, something shifts. Momentum has its own gravity. Small motion creates more motion, the same way a single match can warm your hands if you hold it close enough. And the old Taoist teachers would have smiled at this. Lao Tzu said, "The great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences," which basically means the struggle isn't in the task. The struggle is in your opinion about the task. You're not tired of writing. You're tired of how writing feels when it's not exciting. You're not avoiding the run. You're avoiding the flatness of the run when it has no spark behind it. But here's what they knew. If you drop the preference, if you stop requiring the experience to feel a certain way before you'll participate in it, something surprising happens. The task becomes light, not because it changed, because you stopped holding it up to an impossible standard. You're not supposed to feel on fire every day. You're not supposed to wake up buzzing with purpose 7 mornings a week. That was never the deal. The deal is quieter than that. The deal is you show up. You do the thing. Some days it feels like flying. Most days it feels like walking. And on a few days it feels like crawling. And all 3 of those count exactly the same. Think about the ocean. When a wave rises, it's dramatic. It's tall. It catches the light. Everyone on the shore points and watches. But the wave doesn't power the ocean. The current does. Deep under the surface, where no one's watching, where there's no drama and no spectacle, the current moves water across the entire planet, quietly, constantly, without applause. Motivation is the wave, practice is the current, and what I want you to know, really know, is that the current is already in you. It doesn't need to be manufactured. It doesn't need a viral video, or a perfect morning routine, or a 5-step system. It's just the part of you that cares enough about something to keep going when the feeling fades. You've felt it before, maybe with someone you love, maybe with a skill you've been building for years, maybe with something so personal you've never told anyone about it. There's a thing that happens, and people rarely talk about it. When you keep showing up past the death of motivation, past the flatness, past the day when every cell in you says stop, something new grows in its place. It's not excitement, it's not fire, it's closer to trust, self-trust. The quiet recognition that you are someone who does what they said they would do. And that feeling, that steady, unshakable sense that you can rely on yourself is worth more than 1,000 mornings of motivation. Because motivation makes promises, but you're the one who has to keep them. So the next time it disappears, and it will, don't panic. Don't go searching for it. Don't open another video hoping someone will light you back up. Just notice the stillness. Notice the flat water and the quiet air, and then pick up the oars. Not because it feels good, because the other shore is still there, and you're still rowing.